Welcome to the podcast, where something is amiss, something is a mess, and we'll discuss some things MS, multiple sclerosis. This podcast is meant to tell the stories of those living day to day with MS, from before they were diagnosed, getting that diagnosis, the aftermath, and where they are today in their journey with multiple sclerosis. And now, let's get on with the show. Welcome to Some Things MS. Welcome to another episode of Some Things MS, where we've been discussing multiple sclerosis from a lot of different angles, but really focused in on telling stories of people who are living with MS and how they, their journey from finding out the diagnosis to where they are today and working through the daily challenges. And really excited to have on our guest today, Lucas Niven. Hopefully I got that right. I'm always, forever challenged with getting names right.
You nailed it.
When I'm nailed, I'm 1 for 5 in the last week. So good. I've got one in the win column. So welcome, Lucas. And
thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about, what you do in life, and then we'll get into the good stuff for the stuff about MS.
Cool. Yeah. So originally from Colorado Springs, grew up in Colorado, went to Colorado School of Mines, got a bachelor's in physics and a master's in materials. Didn't want to leave Colorado because I like it too much here. The weather's nice. I mean, you got the mountains there. There's so many activities to do. So only applied to Colorado jobs.
Nice.
Ended up finding a job as a layout engineer for computer chips. Okay. So if you think like blueprints for houses, I kind of do blueprints for computer chips. That was
my teeny little blueprints.
Yeah. Luckily, I can zoom in really big on the screen. I've actually got a 42-inch 4K television that I use as my screen.
Nice.
Much easier to look at. Yeah. It's pretty good setup. So I've been doing that since graduating college back in 2015. So living down, it brought me back to the Springs from Golden. So I've been living here, have a house, got a girlfriend recently. So there's that. And other than that, just hanging out, enjoying Colorado.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for that rundown. Yeah, that's good stuff. I've got a couple friends from the mines, probably a little earlier than your graduating class, but great school. I mean, I worked at a company and in the industry I work in, which is Microsoft related business systems. A number of companies local they are heavily recruiting out of the mines. It's just a great school for.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I decided on it was, you get A's at an engineering school like CU Boulder, but you get B's at mines. They kind of look at the B's at mines still instead.
Yeah.
So kind of
got a great rep.
Yeah, I love it. Cool campus.
Yeah.
Every time we ride by, we were talking about it. We ride by for that high rollers ride, and it's crazy seeing every new building they keep putting up, even since I've been there.
Yeah,
just years ago.
And I got excited watching Mines football this year. I'm a big football fan, so it was kind of fun.
Yeah, they made it to the championship and everything.
Yeah. It's like 2 years in a row they've done this, right? Like they've had a great run.
They've always been good. They usually crush the RMAC, the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But this recently they've been going to that next level. So
taking it up. Yeah. So it was fun. I caught a couple games on TV even where they were broadcasting, and it was definitely fun to see.
Don't normally see that. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Flipping the channels, like, wow. And they were blowing, I flipped this, I kept turning the channel, and it's like, oh, it's 14-0. Oh, it's 28-0. Oh, they were just pounding people. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we appreciate that introduction. Gives us a little background, and just let's jump right into maybe just a little bit of your life prior to your diagnosis, like what you were doing and kind of how you were operating prior to having that initial diagnosis.
Yeah. So prior to that, I was big sports athlete. So I I've done just about every single sport except for hockey, and technically I also did hockey, just never in a league. Um, Varsity sports, I did wrestling and football all through high school. I went to state for wrestling. So very active person, always liked getting out and doing things, and hiking, and big into mountain biking, and just anything I could get my hands on. If it was an activity, I would do it. So yeah, fun times. But
yeah. So then, what kind of led you to your MS diagnosis? Was it one big event, or was it slow? Kind of talk about that.
So it was kind of slow. I have a very unique MS story.
Yeah.
Where it started. So after high school, the summer after high school, I started having these weird like seizure things in the right side of my body. And recently went to Mayo Clinic at the beginning of this year, and they kind of told me, that correlates with an MS attack, like all the way.
Okay.
And so was getting those for the summer after high school, and didn't really think anything of them. Being a sports person, I was also I don't need to go to the doctor type person. So
yeah.
Kind of ignored them. But then going into freshman year of college, I started noticing my balance was getting worse. And so started sprinting. I couldn't sprint anymore. And then it kind of slowly progressed over freshman year to where it's like, okay, I can only jog. Okay, I'm just, I can only walk. And then actually got to this point where kind of went off a cliff. It was like, I need a cane to walk, and now I need a wheelchair. And I actually spent my entire sophomore year of college in a wheelchair. So this whole time, before freshman year, it was funny. My dad finally caught me having one of my seizures. Like basically the whole right side of my body would just tense up, and I could still move, but it's like you're flexing as hard as you can.
Yeah.
And he saw me have one. He was like, "What the was that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's nothing. I've just been." At that point, I was having like 10 to 12 per day.
Okay.
So probably should have been getting it checked out sooner. And he's like, "Yeah, no, we're going to the ER." And went to the ER, got an MRI. I had lesions in my brain, but they did not correlate with MS.
Interesting.
Yeah. These lesions were at the base of my spine, and they were very symmetrical on both sides, whereas MS is normally very asymmetrical across the brain. And it was also affecting a very different part of the brain. It was at the very base, whereas normally MS is more in the upper parts of the brain and stuff. And so started seeing a bunch of different specialists, and that went on for a few years. So in the wheelchair, finally we did some immunosuppressants, found out I had a folic acid deficiency in my spine, did some immunosuppressants, gave me a bunch of folic acid, and I slowly came out of the wheelchair. And so we're still trying to figure out what's going on, and we're still trying to deal with it. And I hadn't been on any MS targeted immunosuppressants. I had been on just a more general one. And so I was still, I kind of got way better, and then I kind of started falling off again. And I noticed it in the gym and everything. At one point, this was 2018, finally went for another MRI. At this point, I've had like 30 MRIs and all the different.
I should get like a punch card for sure.
I know, right?
2 or 3 a year for a long time.
The 10th one's free or something like
exactly
that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was also, I had to get a lot of spinal taps because that was the only way to tell the folic acid deficiency,
Yeah.
which I've had the spinal headache twice, and those absolutely suck.
Yeah.
I like overdo it when I'm going to into recovery for those. But anyway, yeah. At that point, 2018, got an MRI, and it had lesions that correlated with MS. So it was kind of surprising, but it was also kind of a huge relief because it's like now we finally have a name for it. And have something we can target, whereas before we were just trying to throw medicine at symptoms and see what makes it feel better. So since then, I've been bouncing through a lot of MS medicines. Just some had good results, some had bad results, some had horrible side effects.
Yeah.
Some, trying to find what correlates the best. And finally went to Mayo Clinic. I think I mentioned that, but in January this year.
Okay.
And they look at your entire history all at once. And so we never really could correlate the wheelchair with anything, because that's not normal for MS people to then come back out of, like some people get in. So they looked at everything, and they showed me my first MRI from way back in, this would have been 2009, and compared it to the MRI we did this year in January. And that base spot that was showing up was almost gone.
Interesting.
And so it was very clearly there in the first one from 2009. And as you look through the MRIs, it slowly disappears. And so like when the MRI tech was looking at it, he's like, well, I don't really see much difference here, but if it drops 1% every time you get an image, you don't notice. But then if you look at the first, so kind of nice. I'm glad I went to Mayo Clinic. It wasn't a cheap trip, but kind of nice because they correlated. So the MS attacks, when I first started, the seizures on the right side of my body, that's definitely MS. So they think it just went dormant. And then I had this other cerebral folate deficiency thing, autoimmune, in my spine, which actually put me in the wheelchair. And so now I'm still taking the folic acid. That's one thing I haven't stopped taking this whole time, because that basically, if you don't use it, you pee it out. And so that's basically taken care of. And then now just the MS, it was dormant and it came back in 2018 because I wasn't on any MS medicine.
Yeah.
Now it's just try and keep that under control and not get any worse. So yeah, very long, complicated, unique situation, I feel.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I my diagnosis was very quick, although it likely was, there were periods previous to my diagnosis that were pre-symptoms or, pre-symptomatic that I didn't recognize. Like you, they weren't prolonged necessarily, but definitely, I had some numbness on the right side. Also, very athletic, very, active, doing a lot of stuff, and just thought, oh, I probably pinched a nerve, doing something. Went to doctor. They said, yeah, it looks like you probably pinched it based on what you're doing. You pinched a nerve. You need to probably go do some shoulder work. Went to Stedman Hawkins Clinic. It's a pretty, well-known rehab. Yeah. They put me through all the shoulder stuff. And after a month, it kind of went away. And I was like, oh, cool. I think the same thing happened very similar time the next year, and thought, I did them on my own. I was like, I know what to do. Shoulder exercises. Yeah. Before like that next 3 months later, then kind of full blown attack, which was not normal. And then went in, and luckily my doctor kind of pinned it right away. My primary was like, I actually don't think this is a pinched nerve, because I had numbness again, but it was a little bit stronger. She's like, I think something else going on. You should go get an MRI and see a neurologist. And boom, they're like, I took the spinal tap,
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you've got MS, Yeah. So some people's journey is, really quick and fine. And other folks like yourself, the most people I talk to are quicker than I, expect. But yeah, certainly, especially we got phantom stuff going on with something else like neurological, your folic acid. It just throws
Yeah.
a complication into really getting somewhere. So your diagnosis, where some people were like kind of hit in the face with a ton of bricks, for you was a bit of relief. It sounds like to kind of have something to work with.
Yeah, it was huge relief. Because before, we were joking, just calling it Lucas's thing, Lucas's disease or whatever.
Yeah.
Got to do it Lucas's way. Can't never go by the book. Got to go unique and be more complicated than everybody else, of course. And
All right.
so,
Hey man, you got to be. Yeah, if we're not unique in life, what are we?
yeah, right, exactly.
Forge our own path. Yeah, do it our own way.
Yeah. So, but
cool. So, are you on a medication? Have you settled? Have you been able? I know there, there are so many treatment options, but you do have to kind of systematically look. You can't just start taking one for a couple of weeks and then start the next one. You've got to titrate off sometimes. These are heavy duty things that you're dealing with. It's like, once you get on one, I mean, when I was doing them, it was all injectables. It's like almost like a chemotherapy because you're doing liver tests every month to make sure you're not trashing your liver out, and all the other things that go along with it. Heavy duty side effects.
Yeah, I've like I said, I've tried a lot of them. I think the first one I did was rituximab, and then went on Ocrevus for a while, and I've done Tysabri, and I know there's a couple others in there, and I reacted different to each one. Rituximab, we kind of noticed was weaning off. It wasn't working as well for me. And so, and I was also noticing some weird stuff with my left eye. Like I was starting to lose sight in my left eye.
Yeah.
And then with rituximab, if you're weaning off or if it's not working as well, they double the dose. And that knocked me out, and I almost couldn't see out of my left eye. And so got off that one. Some of them, I think it was Tysabri or one of them I went on. And one of the things I do constantly to stay out of it is CrossFit, just to stay active and keep moving. And so that's a good gauge for how I'm doing. And when I was on that one, within a month, I dropped 40% of my strength.
Wow.
Yeah. And so didn't want to stay on that one. And for a while, I was actually off medication and only doing folic acid pills, basically, for the other thing. And then we went to Mayo Clinic. They confirmed I had MS, and they suggested I get back on, some medicine. So kind of stepped down, and now I'm on Vumerity, which is like a pill form. So it's a little bit nicer than the every 6 months injection or infusion type thing.
Yeah.
And I haven't been on that one long yet, only a few weeks now. So I haven't noticed any huge differences yet, which I guess is kind of good.
If you're not, hopefully you're not seeing immediate side effects. That means you can keep trying it to see if it's got some efficacy for your disease.
Exactly. So so hopefully I can stay on that for a little bit, and hopefully just something to keep it down until they find a cure.
Yeah, that's what we're working for, brother. Is that cure? Yeah, I mean when I was diagnosed, it was the fundraising was all about taking care of people and research, and those are the buzzwords around the fundraising efforts. And it's been awesome to see this. I'll say it every podcast, to see the words cure in the bylines. It's no longer just research. It's like we're moving closer to that, which is just incredible.
It's huge. Yeah. I that is one thing I was a little bummed with going through the whole process is I never heard about Bike MS. So I didn't start Bike MS until last year was my first year. This will be my second ride.
Yeah.
And I'd been diagnosed since 2018 and never heard of it. And like, they don't mention it in the doctor's office or anything. And Tony Nelson, he's on my team.
Mm-hmm.
Team Neo is who I joined, and he told me about it. So I just overheard him talking at the gym one day, the CrossFit gym. He goes to the same gym as me, and he said, mentioned he had MS, and I kind of just butted in. I was like, I also have MS, and we got to talking, and he told me about this bike MS event, and they were doing a info session like that next week, so it was like perfect timing, and it was at a brewery, so they knew how to get me to go. So
great. Free beer, learn about bike MS.
Yeah, exactly. So I went and basically signed up there like right away, because I knew if I didn't, I probably wouldn't do it, and totally glad I did.
Yeah. So, you mentioned you were mountain biking. So did you have to get a road bike, or are you riding your mountain bike out there?
I had to get a road bike. I wasn't about to do 70 miles on the road.
I've seen people on road bikes before, like big fat boys. Like, how are you doing this?
Yeah, that'd be a rough ride. Yeah. Or the guy on the penny farthing. That guy.
I love that guy. Yeah, every year I've seen everything, man. There was a guy one year with a bike that he propelled using rowing motion. It was a row bike, so chest, workout. And I saw a person on a
the elliptical one or whatever?
Elliptical bike, I've pretty much seen about every type of bike you can think of out there. But the penny farthing guy is by far, that guy's a beast. I mean, that full 150 miles
one year. Yeah,
every year, and he's crushing it. Yeah, no doubt about it. And he does it all around. I'll see him like it's on the trail sometimes training. I was like, just riding down some trail, and there comes this penny farthing. It's like, yeah, that guy.
Okay,
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I love it. Definitely inspirational. So cool. So just 2 years. That's pretty. So talk about that just real quickly. You and I are in neck and neck fundraising race. So you're doing really good. It took me a while to get ramped up to this level of fundraising. So any tips on how you got just from like 0 to 7,000 in 2 years? That's incredible.
So it gets me. Sorry. Good friends and family.
Yeah.
I started fundraising kind of late last year, and just posted on Bookface, and my original goal was only $669 because I'm a child and 69 is my favorite number. But so anyway, I put that up on Monday, and I had $5,000 by Friday.
Oh man. High five on that one, brother.
Yeah, no, it's kind of cool to see the support you get.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, so many people who are doing this, for no other reason they know me. Like our team, rallies. These are people who, have met me, on my first ride, and have taken this up as their challenge, and then they've learned of so many other people they know that have MS. So it becomes all of a sudden it's not just about Bobby, but I found out my uncle and a friend at work, and once you're doing it, so many people that people know. So it's an awesome network, and like you said, a good reason to get emotional. I mean, every year when I write my wrap up to all my donors, I literally, like you, just sitting there in tears thinking about, number one, having ridden 150 miles and done that. Yeah. And then reporting back and thanking them for all their support throughout this time. I mean, and some of these folks have been doing it for me for 15 years now. Because I started with Walk MS and fundraised through Walk MS and then into Bike MS. So yeah, it's an incredible, it's incredible, when you've got that kind of support, friends and
Yeah.
family stepping up out
Yeah.
of the woodwork,
Yeah.
like you said.
It was awesome. It
Yeah.
was really great to see, and obviously bumped my target way up from the original 669, and so
To 6,069, and then
yep, exactly. And so
yeah,
and then you find other means, even coworkers were supportive and helped out. My work matched last year. Unfortunately, they're not matching this year, but had another friend this year donate a whole bunch of money, so I'm still on target to possibly beat my last year goal. So
awesome. Yeah, no,
yeah,
yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
yeah. So
Um, just step back a little bit before we get off. So you were really into exercise. Obviously, it sounds like you're still doing it. So that's awesome. Did anything
yeah.
change? You're still trying to go with your typical routines, or did you have to change it
Uh,
up? Or you kind of flowing? Talk a little bit about how how you go about staying fit still and managing your MS as well.
Yeah. So after I got out of the wheelchair, I wanted to get more involved, because you kind of get to this point where it's like, literally tomorrow you can be in a wheelchair. So do whatever you can now. And
Yeah.
when I did that, I saw some reruns of the old CrossFit games on ESPN or whatever.
Yeah.
Or I think I saw the live. I don't know. It was like the 2012 CrossFit games,
Yeah.
and these guys were like deadlifting 400 pounds and then handstand walking like 50 feet and then doing like 50 pull-ups. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And so kind of got into CrossFit that way. Found a gym near my school because I was still at school at the time, and now I have a gym down here in the Springs now. Shout out to CrossFit Decimate, but yeah, and so that's been a good one for me to kind of gauge, because every day you go in and they have the workouts written down,
Yeah.
and you just do whatever's there. And so when I was before I found CrossFit, I was kind of doing my own thing. And with the wheelchair stuff, obviously, I struggled with some of the leg things and all
Yeah.
that. And so CrossFit, when I was doing it on my own, I'd just skip it. Like, oh, I'm only going to run 200 meters today, or oh, I'm only going to do, I'm not even going to do it. Whereas CrossFit is like, no, that's the workout today, so you have to do it. And so
Yeah.
it kind of forced me to work on the things that I was struggling with. And then, like I mentioned earlier, it's a good way for me to gauge how I'm doing, because you keep track of your scores, you keep track of your lifts. There's these common workouts called the girls and stuff that you do that you can compare yourself year to year and everything. And so that's a really good way. I mean, it keeps me motivated. I think with the MS and the folic acid deficiency, I regress a lot faster than the average person, I think. I don't know if you deal with that, where it's kind of like you take a week off and it's like a normal person took like a month or two off. Like you go back and it's just like, why is this so hard suddenly?
Yeah.
And
I do this all the time, man. I just got to a level of comfort where I stopped questioning myself around that. Like, cause early on, I'd be like, why can't I, ride as fast today? Why can't I do all the pull-ups? And I have to or my wife would remind me. It's like, you got MS.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Thanks. I forgot.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's like I kind of get lulled into this, if my workouts were going well and everything seemed normal and my symptoms weren't really flaring, then I would literally almost forget early on, because I was still, young enough and active enough that it would just kind of become, and I didn't think about it. I wasn't dwelling on it. So it wasn't like every day I woke up, it's like, okay, I got to, think about MS now for an hour before I go to work. It's like just normal. And so I would forget, and I would question myself. And I do believe that, and this is something that I still kind of, I get in a mode of like fear of not working out, because I am afraid number one, I am getting old. So I'm 55 now. So it's like, there's that. And so I know that there's a regression point, and, where you're going to start to lose muscle structure and all these things. And then with the MS, I'm afraid, like you said, that if I stop doing it, then it's going to somehow be worse, and that I won't be able to come back as fast. And so it does motivate me in a weird kind of twisted way to like push through, symptoms sometimes when I shouldn't, maybe, and make choices because I am afraid. And that, so I'm trying to get better around that. But yeah, for sure. I do believe that I regress faster, and it takes longer for me to get back to a level if I'm off for an extended period of time.
Cool. So it's not just me.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I've not talked to anybody about that before. It's been something that not sharing it, just nobody's ever mentioned it like as a concept. And it's interesting. It made me think just now as we were talking, like, I do that pretty consistently.
Yeah. It makes me wake up at 5 a.m. every day and go to the gym before going to work. So
yeah, that's what I do. I'm definitely, actually, now it's kind of funny. I used to do that. That was my favorite, definitely morning person. Like by the evening, I'm pretty spent, and gym is tough. But because I work at home now, I kind of work out all day. Like I'll get up and do push-ups. I'll do pull-ups. I just kind of consistently every hour get up and do something. And by the end of the day, I've got a pretty full body workout in. Yeah. I feel pretty good about it.
Nice. Yeah. It's I've slowly, especially with the partial working from home now, and like my boss isn't even at my office anymore. He moved down to Austin. I've noticed I get to work at later and later times now. I spend more time at the gym, and I'm slowly getting back, like I used to be like, I'm into work by 8:30. And now if I'm into work by 9:30 or 10, it's pretty early for me.
Yeah.
So
those workouts are important though. Like I said,
I that was always my argument, and why I kind of pushed the workouts to the morning is, that's my health is higher priority than this job. So
I'm gonna take even when I travel a lot, and I find I get up if I'm on the East Coast, I still get up at 5. If I'm I just keep my routine steady, and I love it when I hit a hotel that has a good gym. But if not, I work out in the room just fine. I'll do body weights for an hour, or body weight workouts for an hour, and just always keep it going. Yeah, I try not to let it down. Like you said, like we talked about, I try not to let it down.
Yeah, I brought my bike up to South Dakota. I was visiting my sister, and so did a couple rides up there. That's nice. Like beautiful area where we were. She's near Rapid Falls or whatever.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that whole area I love. I haven't driven up there in a while. I used to go up when I first moved here, and I'm from the East Coast. So I moved here 25 years ago. Used to go up to the Black Hills because people would come into town. I was like, oh, we're going to do something fun. I was like, oh, let's go see Mount Rushmore. It's really close. We can drive there pretty quickly, and it's pretty darn cool to see. And the area is beautiful. Black Hills are beautiful. But I haven't been there in a minute now. But I do like it up there. Yeah. Cool, man. I really appreciate having you. This has been an interesting conversation. I mean, every one of these I've done is slightly different, and I'm learning something new. Anything we haven't talked about that you'd want to share? I think we covered a lot, but I always want to give everybody an opportunity to make sure we didn't miss any important part of your story or anything that you feel people should hear.
Big one. We kind of mentioned it, and I tell people now with MS is don't be afraid to try different medicines. Don't get stuck on one. Having been somebody who's tried, 8 or 9 of them, every one of them reacts different with every person, right? MS is kind of this disease that's so unique to everybody who has it that don't be afraid to try something else. Just because this is working for one person doesn't mean it'll work for you. Don't be afraid. If you're not feeling good, try another one.
Yeah, advocate for yourself for sure.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, don't be afraid to ask your doctor. So, but
cool, man. I've got a couple of fun questions for us to end with, but before this is a complete non sequitur comment, but both you and I have something in common that I noticed. I was trolling your Facebook just to learn a little bit more about you, and I've seen your ride, over the last year or so. But we both tend to stick our tongues out in pictures. Like I look back at my pictures, like all my MS pictures when they're taking them on the road. I'm always like, You know, I don't know why. I was asking you, do you know why you do it? Because I have zero idea. It just happens. Like when people, I'm always making a funny face.
I just like to be more excited, you know,
Yeah.
and like no boring smiles. I want to stick my tongue out. My mother actually gets very upset. She'll sit there with the camera. No, put your tongue away. And like, I'll do something different with my tongue. No, put it away. And everybody else is like, take the picture, mother. Yeah.
That's funny. Somebody just asked me this recently. I don't know who it was now. It might've been my mom or somebody's like, do you ever take a picture with a normal smile? I was like, nope.
Nope.
I'm always either mouth agape or like, you know, I mean, I just, you know, it's like, I could do a normal smile, but why? It's back to before when we said, you know, being unique. It's like, I don't know. I just,
yeah.
That's me coming out. Cool. All right. We may have already answered this, but and by the way, if you're a bike enthusiast, I'm calling this segment quick release. So we're getting ready done. And a bike friend said, yes, you got to call it something. Try quick release. So here we go. What's your favorite exercise?
Pull-ups.
All right. Yeah, I like push-ups. Like I just want to go to. I love a close grip push-up. Gets those
like
traps.
Honestly, anything upper body.
Yeah.
So like, because my legs from the wheelchair are just not with it. So when I'm in CrossFit, if it's an all upper body workout, I'm like, yes.
So I'm going to ask you, what's your probably your most hated exercise is like squats.
Squats for sure. Yeah. It's, you know, like, can I do power cleans instead? Nope, it's squat cleans. Okay, well, let me take 50 pounds off the bar.
And I'm going to say running. I've done a lot of it, but I hate it. Yeah. Like, I hate running of any kind. Sprinting, I could sprint for sure, but
I play a lot of sports still. Ultimate Frisbee. So the sprinting I'm great at. The running, no.
Okay. When it comes to ingesting protein, like for workouts, whatever, shake or a bar?
I do shake. I can't. Okay. I don't like the bars. It's too hard to eat them.
Yeah, no, I used to love when I first started working out. I was trying to put some weight on. I'm 5'2", and currently I weigh about 125 pounds. I fluctuate a couple pounds up and down, but it's mostly muscle. Don't have a lot of body fat. I got to 150-ish, 2 pounds at some point, all muscle, and I was drinking like 3,000 calorie shakes every day.
Jeez.
like Weeder scoops, you know, and just pounding these shakes just because I felt like this is what bodybuilders did.
This is what you got to do. Yeah.
In the 90s, what you got to do. You got to eat pasta all day long, like 2 pounds of pasta and this shake, and then work out all day. And it was absurd. Like I couldn't even move. And I had to cut that out.
No, I've never gotten that serious. I just do 1 scoop protein. I do eat a lot of food though, like stuff in my face.
That's good. It's like food is. Food is awesome. I love. You know, like
that's the second reason I do CrossFit is so I can basically eat whatever the heck I want.
Right.
You know?
Pizza and tacos and everything CrossFitted out.
Yeah.
Favorite Disney cartoon movie?
All right. So I'm a huge Disney, Pixar, all that fan, and so you got to be more specific.
Right.
So if we're going favorite classic Disney movie, I'm going to say Beauty and the Beast. But if you want favorite new age Disney movie is Big Hero 6.
Those are good choices. Yeah.
And
I love Big Hero 6. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Pixar is a different category, of course. And so that one's Toy Story for me. So
I'm trying to remember, is Coco Pixar or is that Disney?
Coco's Pixar.
Is it? Yeah. I like Coco. That's one of my favorites.
Coco's a good one. Yeah. No, I'm a huge fan.
Up is also Pixar too. I think Up is also.
Yeah, Up's Pixar. Up was a fun one.
Yep.
Yeah.
For me,
which one was your favorite? Coco or?
So for me, I grew up with classic Disney, like OG classic Disney, like Snow White and all those, and then but it was The Little Mermaid. So that was like Disney's rebirth. And I'm like, so I would have been, that came out in 89-ish, right? So 89. I would have been 21 when that came out. I went and saw it at the theater at least 100 times. And I have a younger brother who's 10 years younger than me. So he was about 10 at the time. So I would take him half the time, but then once it hit the dollar theater, I'm not crapping. I went, every day after work, I would just stop at the Dollar Theater, watch The Little Mermaid, and then go home. It was silly.
Awesome.
I just love that movie, so I would
That's
still say, I mean, I like so many of them. I love Tangled. I mean, just there's so many that are really good, but The Little Mermaid was, I think, consistently my overall favorite.
Heck yeah.
And the last question, and this is bike related. I came across this because I wanted to figure out exactly what quick release meant. I knew kind of, but I wanted to know fully. So I was looking at bike terminology, and I thought, oh, this would be fun. I'll bring in the last question as a bike phrase, something in the cycling world that means something, and I'm going to give it to you, and you have to see if you can tell me what it means. What does the phrase "bring home a Christmas tree" mean?
Bring home a Christmas tree.
Yeah, it has to do with biking.
Huh. I haven't heard that one.
That apparently is when you crash through a bunch of bushes or trees.
Yeah, the second you said crash, I figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, if you crash into a bunch of trees, that's called bringing home a Christmas tree. So,
okay.
In the cycling
that makes
world.
Sense.
So,
yeah. I've brought home a Christmas tree one time. I was out mountain biking with my buddy at Trestle Bike Park. It's up at Winter Park.
Okay.
And came off a big jump, and I just went nose over on the lip and just like rolled, and I tumbled into some bushes, and like trees and stuff, and I was stuck. And my buddy, luckily, he was behind me. I wasn't behind him, so he came up a little bit later. He's like, "Yeah, all I saw was your bike sitting in the middle of the trail, and I didn't see you." And then he just heard me yelling. I was like, "Michael! Michael!" And he had to like reach in and drag me out of this bush I was stuck in. And so I've brought home a Christmas tree before.
I've never brought home a Christmas tree. I brought home a yield sign at my first Colorado Bike MS. For sure. Man. Yeah, so that I brought home that, but not a Christmas tree. But now I'll know.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool, man. Well, hey, Lucas, I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Again, always learn a lot, and so happy to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
And look forward to seeing you in person. Definitely stop by our tent. We will have a tent there in Team Village, and you're welcome to stop by and hang out.
With
our team. And
I'm excited for it. I got to go on a long ride this weekend to get ready for it, but
I've got to get myself going too. I've had one training ride, and that was the Bike MS 150 in Virginia. So I'll try to hit something
good before training ride.
Yeah, it was a pretty good one. My butt was feeling it. Believe me, I was like, my legs aren't too bad, but man, 150 in the saddle with having 0 on top of that, I was definitely bruised. So
for me last year, it was my neck holding my head up. That's second
always
day,
a pain. Yeah,
I was not used to that. Like my longest training ride last year was like 2 hours, and I know this year I need to do longer than that.
Cool. Well, good luck out there in training, and like I said, I'll see you on ride day, and look forward to high-fiving you in person.
Heck yeah! Thanks for having me, Bobby.
Yep. Take care, man.
Yep. Have a good one.